Look at you with the Brooks.
Huh?
Dude,
These are hella
Brooks.
comfy.
I know they are.
Brook Max?
I know Brooks. I've never had Brooks. They're
What's your size? You can try them on.
When you think of like Hoka's or New Balance, you're thinking more active.
Yeah.
So it depends what you want. I think we talk about personal health and all that too. That could be a whole nother freaking episode.
Episode of stuff.
Yeah, we were just talking about vitamins.
We were talking about vitamins.
Yeah.
First podcast of the year. I'm excited. John's excited. Thanks for listening and tuning in to our first podcast. This podcast, what are we talking about? We're just talking about just life. I don't really have an agenda. We're kind of free balling. I was riding this on the freeway, I'm not gonna lie. And
That's not illegal.
it's not illegal, especially in California.
Let's start the podcast off confessing to a crime. I like that.
Yeah, just brief intro. Who are you? How did we meet? Why am I at your house? How am I eligible to be here?
So it's not awkward. My name is John Chari. Me and Chris met probably like 5 or 6 years ago when I lived in Orange County. At the time, I had a room for rent, and this guy hit me up, and he's like, "Yo, let me get that room." And then we ended up being roommates for what, like a year?
About a year.
Maybe more.
It was during the COVID time.
Yeah, it was during COVID.
And he thought I was a white guy, by the way. It was so funny.
Did I?
Oh yeah, remember over the phone?
You have that Orange County voice. You were like, "Hello." So I didn't know.
That's funny.
It wasn't a giveaway. But yeah, I probably thought he was a white guy because why not?
Nice. So like, what more about yourself? Like, where were we? Were in Rancho Cucamonga. How'd you get here?
Rancho Cucamonga. I'm actually from the area, from the IE, Victorville, so I guess kind of IE.
Yep.
But I bought a house out here probably almost 3 years ago now. I think I bought it around August, a couple years back, 2 or 3 years ago. So I think it's going to be a little past year 3 living out here.
Yeah.
So bought it a while ago, and it was like a mild fixer-upper. I moved in and remodeled the basic stuff: floors, walls, blinds, restrooms, paint.
Backyard too.
And the backyard.
Little water. I'll show you guys later. The little water fountain.
Yeah. And the backyard, and been here since.
Nice. Yeah. I'll tell you about my experience and how we met. When I met John for the first time, I was like, why is this guy so bougie? We walk into the apartment and it's like this bougie black mate. What was that? It was a white couch or the black couch?
It was a charcoal gray leather couch.
And he had this one seat right here where he always puts his shoes. Like he'd sit in here and always sit there and then put his shoes in. And then he had all these like knickknacks everywhere. I remember he used to put snow globes too back in the day.
Yeah,
but
so it was
when I met John, I was like, this guy is way too extroverted. So social. He like talked, and we'll talk about it later, because this is when you used to work at Macy's. So this is a time when he was just like grinding. You were at Macy's, right? Yep. So my question for you is, we talked a lot about retail. I don't know if you guys ever done retail before, but I used to work at Hollister a long time ago. Retail sucks because you deal with a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And I know you had to deal with a lot of fires, a lot of angry customers and people. And I feel like people are hard to manage to cool down. So what's your process to do that? He's at Amazon, by the way, which is awesome. But when he was at Macy's and all those other merchandise, how would you say it? Not merchandise, the industry.
Yeah, retail. It's like retail, I call it just retail and service, right? Customer service.
These crazy people.
I think that everyone in life should have at least one job, either in food, in retail, or in housekeeping. I think it helps build character, and I think it teaches you a lot about working with people. My first job was Del Taco, so I worked 3 years in food.
Wait, when was this, in high school?
Yeah, when I was in high school. I started working when I was 15.
Really?
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I was 15, I started working at Del Taco for a year and a half. And then the year and a half after that, I worked at Sonic and became a manager there. I was a manager at 18. At
18, you were a manager?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, let's take a step back. How did he become a manager when he's 18? Wait, how does that actually work? How'd you do that?
I grand opened the Sonic in Apple Valley as just like a cook.
Where were you living back in high school? You were in Orange County, right?
Victorville.
You're in Victorville?
Yeah, because I was raised in Victorville.
Okay.
So I was living in Victorville. I had worked at Del Taco, left, worked a small warehouse job, just very, very small time. Then they were grand opening Sonic. It was close by. I decided to work there. and it went well. I think I was there 6 months ish, and then the same franchise owner, I believe the owner of Panda was actually one of the investors in that corporation. They were opening Sonics, and their second one they were going to open was in Rancho Cucamonga, or it's considered Ontario, right across the street from Ontario Mills. And so I got selected to go down there as an assistant manager to go grand open that store. And the way that I got the management job, besides working my ass off, was all the assistant managers in Apple Valley at the time had to move to their busier store in Victorville, because supposedly all those managers got let go for whatever. They all got let go, and so they moved all the managers over. So they needed a new flight of managers, and I was in that flight. And then the assistant manager at the time got promoted to store manager, and she's like, "Yo, you're my guy. You work hard. You're gonna go to college for business. Come with us to Rancho Cucamonga. Let's launch this store." And yeah, and that's at 17, 18. That's when I became the first time I was an assistant manager.
When you were in college, he went to UCR, by the way.
Yeah.
When you went to college, did you work still at Sonic, or were you working at just focused on stunning?
The first year, freshman year, I was still at Sonic. So I was still assistant manager at Sonic and going to college and doing all of that. And then eventually they asked me to be a store manager for them and to put college on hold.
Really?
And go to college part-time. They said they would give me more assistant managers so that I can run a store, the Apple Valley store at the time, go back to Apple Valley as a store manager. And it was the first time anyone offered me a salary. I was 18.
Damn.
And they offered me a salary, and they're like, "Hey, we'll give you a salary plus some bonus. Here's the keys to the building. I know you're close with your family. Talk to your parents. This is Friday. Give me an answer by Monday." So I was like, "I'm rich, man. I'm about to get paid." I think it was like, we never got to the dollar amount, but I had an idea of what it was going to be. And my mom's like, "Hey, if it's 45K or more, this is like 2000 and this is 2008 or 9, right? So 45K was still decent then.
Yeah.
Like if it's 45K or more, take it. If not, walk away." And then I talked to my dad, and he said, "Son, you're very successful and you're very talented. If they're offering you this now, what makes you think they won't offer you the same thing or more after you get your degree?"
Oh, that's so true, huh? So that's when you're like, nah.
And that stopped me. No, I'm thrilled. That kind of paused, and I was like, he's not wrong. He's like, "You're telling me that if you come back after getting your bachelor's and say, hey, I want to go be your store manager, they're not going to take you? Of course they're going to take you. But think about what else you could potentially get once you hit that if you just stay on the grind with school."
That's a good point. That's good advice.
And literally, I went back Monday, and I was like, I rejected the offer. I stayed with maybe a month more, then I quit altogether and just focused on school 100%. Did some tutoring on the side for in San Bernardino and for some low-income family tutoring for the county, and just focused on school.
Wow. And then after he graduated from UCR, he got straight into Macy's.
Yeah.
And then kind of like what I was trying to pinpoint earlier, once you worked for 7 years at Macy's?
About 8, yeah.
Yeah, like a long time. And this guy had to move like everywhere. Las Vegas, where else did you move to?
Yeah, I started in Riverside. Then I.
And why did you have to keep moving? Tell the people, why did you move a lot? And what were you doing as a?
Yeah.
What was it?
I didn't have to move. I chose to move. Like, thankfully, like I was used to change, right, and being the new guy. But for me, it was like Macy's is very good at talent development, and they would have, for college hires, that they'd bring all the leaders together and coach them and develop them and really like stay close to them, and they did a really, really good job talent developing. A lot of companies could learn from them, right?
Ooh.
But they, I learned there that if you want to move up quickly, you have to be open and flexible.
Okay.
Right? So there might not be a position in Rancho Cucamonga where everyone wants to work, but there might be one in Victorville. Or there might be one in Simi Valley, or there might be one in Santa Maria.
Why'd you take all like those hard things? Like it's an hour and a half, and you're not even like living there. You're like commuting at least for the first couple months.
No, well,
or you're just looking long term. We're just looking long term, and you're like.
I was thinking long term, and then I'm from Victorville, so an average drive for me was 45 minutes normally. I'm not from down here where everyone's like 10-15 minute. Orange County.
Exactly.
Like, if I drive more than 10 minutes,
you're
it's
like,
far.
I don't want to do it.
I'm used to driving 45 minutes a day, so for me, I already lived in Victorville. So, and I was going to UCR, so working in Riverside was I was already doing that drive. Then I got the opportunity to work in Victorville, which is where I'm from, so that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I bought my first house during that time in Rialto. I didn't mind commuting to work. And then they offered to go to Vegas as a career opportunity. And I don't know, I was at a time in life, I was dating someone, I had a house, a new car,
Yep.
I was just graduated, I had friends, I had parties.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, I felt like there was something missing. It seemed like I had it all, but there was something missing, and thankfully I did it, and I went to Vegas. I left everything, and I went, and it was a great career move. So the reason that I did it, try not to get off topic, is because it was a great career move. They said, go to Vegas for 2 years, you do that for us, and we'll make sure that you get the development that you need to get where you want to be, which is to be a store director at the time.
Yeah.
So I went to Vegas, I did it's called like a level 2 manager there, then got another promotion, leveled up, then promoted back to Palm Desert. Again, they said, you want to go back in 2 years, we got a promotion for you. It's in the desert. Do you want to go? I said, sure.
Dang.
I went back started working at the desert. And then from there, that was the first round of layoffs before things started hitting the fan, before like the COVID time.
Yeah. This was like 2019, 2020?
This was probably like 2016.
Okay.
They started laying people off and cutting jobs, and I lost, after all of that, I had got laid off because of seniority. And I had a layoff date. You have 2 weeks. Here's your final pay.
Yeah.
Like that was it, right? It was written on the wall, and thankfully I had a lot of good mentors and a lot of good people and a lot of good support in life and really in the company. Again, like Macy's a great company, and they said, hey, like don't give up. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of stuff that'll open up. Look online, apply, and you have people that will support you to get back in. Great talent doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And I've always been a firm believer of it's not what you know, it's who you know. And sometimes you plant those social cards and those social seeds, and when you need that favor, that's the time to use it. And I've always been very calculated and not taking advantage, like really like only pulling that when you need it. And I felt like that was the appropriate time. And
yeah,
I wish I had the email, because I got a lot of compliments from this email, but I shot a very...
We'll post the screenshot after this.
Yeah, a very specialized email to 4 very influential people and mentors in the company. And it said something along, like not a victim mentality, but something along the lines like, hey, you know what, this is what's happening. I understand why it's happening. I'm fine with it. This is what my plan is. These are my accolades. This is what I have. This is the type of job that I'm looking for. I'm going to apply for X, Y, and Z job. These are the current openings that I know of. I'm sure there's openings that I don't know of yet. If you hear of anything, think of me. I would love to, and I'm open to working literally anywhere from LA County down to San Diego County in California. And that email, eventually made it to the right person, and I got a phone call a couple days later from a secretary. I said, hey, we're going to patch you into someone else. And within a week, I had the opportunity to interview for an early promotion, thankfully, in working either out of San Diego or out in the Valley.
For Macy's still, right?
For Macy's. And so instead of being fired,
you just got
the opportunity to interview.
What about all your other friends that were laid off? Did they do the same strategy, or they decided, hey, I'm just going to do a career pivot or work somewhere else?
A lot of my friends didn't get laid off because they were in different roles.
Okay.
I just happened to be in a certain role in a certain store where it was like one of those where they had a cut, right? So a lot of people didn't face that. It was just a happenstance of where I was at.
Yeah.
I got laid off a second time after that, and now we'll get to that after. But so this was kind of unique to me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was able to Hail Mary that into an early promotion, and that's how I ended up from Palm Desert all the way to Northridge. The company did a great job of if you were willing to move for them, they were willing to move you. Meaning they would relocate you, they would pay all, they would get you the
Were other
movers.
brands like that? Like Macy competitors, were they that flexible? Or is it just Macy's that was able to let you do that?
I've never worked for any direct competitors, so I don't know. I know I worked for Target afterward. There's just so much Targets, I don't think it's necessary. But I'm sure if you moved somewhere far, they would. But I don't think it's necessary, because you can usually move around within your sphere.
Yeah.
And then Amazon, I know, will offer something similar to that. But again, there's so many Amazons being built that you can, again, typically move within your sphere of travel.
So speaking of travel, retail, why did you want to stay in retail for so long? A lot of people do a lot of career pivots, like people get MBAs. I think you got your MBA too, right?
Yeah.
dude, this guy's a super overachiever. Anywho, but yeah, a lot of people when they get their MBA, they want to do a career change.
Yeah.
Typically, they go into consulting, banking, product management. Why did you want to decide to just keep staying in retail? Did you just know that you wanted? Because a lot of people, like I just learned this now. He's an assistant manager at Sonic.
Yeah.
Not retail, but it's in the same customer service facing space. Is it just because you feel like you're naturally just like loving helping people, or do you like just like what kept you in retail for so long? I couldn't do it because, like I said, I worked at Hollister, hated working with people all the time, dude. All these barriers and stuff, boundaries and stuff. So
I think for me early on, maybe it's because I'm an overthinker. I'm a Virgo, by the way, and single, by the way. I gotta put a little plug for myself,
manifest.
right? Just saying. I was always very curious and very much a person that thought ahead. So when I was in high school, I was very intentional, and I took those personality tests, and thought about what jobs I might like to do, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be a lawyer, a teacher, whatever it is.
Exactly.
But what I did differently, I think that maybe people do, maybe people don't do, I don't feel like people do it as much as they should, is I actually went and interviewed, similar to this, people that were in all those roles.
In high school, that's what you did?
Yeah, so I started
Really?
doing like in high school and when I was younger, and I would talk to, if I knew I wanted to be an architect at once, I talked to an architect.
That's a good idea.
I talked to a stock market investor, like analyst. I talked to a teacher. I talked to a school counselor. I talked to a principal. I talked to someone who worked in banking. I talked to someone
How'd
who
you
worked
get
in
these
real
contacts?
estate.
You just reached out
Friends and
yourself?
family.
Friends
you
and
know?
family, right? So that's how you do it, people. You
Yeah,
don't
like
really
I knew, like in school, like let me go talk to the teacher. Hey, do you like what you do? Do you like the money that you make? Do you like when you go, like what's your favorite thing? What's the worst thing you like? Like just a basic, what do you like, what don't you like? What's your favorite thing, your least favorite thing? Do you make enough money? Would you do anything different? Have you ever considered, just like you're asking me, doing something different? So I had very brief conversations with those people. I remember I met a stock market analyst, he was making $250,000 a year, and this was 10 years ago, right?
Like,
and he told me his life. He's like, I get up every day at 4 a.m. I'm ready for the Asian markets at whatever time they open, 6 o'clock. Or I play the Asian markets in the morning. New York Stock Exchange opens at 6. I'm up. I do this. I make trades. My day's done by 11 a.m. I'm riding a bike, right?
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
And so I got to understand in a very basic scale, what all these different job ideas, career ideas did on a daily, and what their life looked like. And then I just kind of envisioned myself like, do I see myself doing that and making that much, or do I see myself doing something different, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to be an architect, right? So I talked to an architect. He liked it. I did architecture in high school. Freaking almost failed it, right? Because I suck at drawing. Great at math, suck at drawing. And so that kind of turned me off to that idea. But my mom did real estate for a little bit when we were young. And mortgage lending and stuff, so I knew that I had that real estate piece. My mom also got a bachelor, but she's always been very business savvy and money savvy, and so she always said, if you ever want to make money in life, invest in business or in real estate. Be calculated with that, and it'll and success will come. So how'd I get to retail?
Retail.
So I did all that.
Yep.
I knew at least that I wanted to go to school for business. I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I went to UCR, for business.
Yep.
And then they have career fairs.
Yep.
So then I got to talk to people at that level now. Okay, well, do I want to work in a bank, right? For I don't know, Chase Bank. Do I want to work for Toys R Us? Was still around then. Toys R Us. Do you want to work for Penny's? Do you want to work for Target? They used to recruit there. Do I want to work, I don't know, all the Primaricas, all that, everything right under the sun.
Yep.
And I obviously worked in food, so I didn't want to do that, just because nothing wrong with it. I knew that I was good with people. I just didn't want to smell when I came home, right? I wanted to feel good when I came home. So I'm like, maybe working in an office job, like at a bank. You get off and everyone's like, oh.
Yep.
Sadly,
free Taco Bell.
It's like what's that?
Frito Taco.
It's Frito Taco.
I mean, sorry, wherever you were. Yeah.
Del Taco.
Del Taco.
Anyways, ultimately, I landed on the idea because of Sonic that I knew how to manage people, and that's a rare talent.
Heck yeah, especially at a young age.
And so I knew that I wanted to do people management somewhere. And I used to go and went to every event possible. So I went to every career fair, every interview prep, hey, there's pizza if you want to come meet in this organization or this career fair or networking events. I did everything under the sun, and I tried to expose myself as much as I could to hopefully get the opportunity of getting in front of a company, right? So I ended up interviewing for Kohl's, Macy's, Apple, Google.
Oh, interesting.
I think Chase, Toys R Us. I can't remember all of them, but those are some of the names, right? Obviously, Google, Apple, they're looking for engineers, like more of like your
technical people,
technical engineers. But for me, I got in front of them, number one, to get experience interviewing at that caliber.
Yeah.
Hearing Apple makes anyone like, oh my God, perk up, right? And so just having the exposure of like being in, having that like pressure on you, helped ship me, like groom me to be ready for a big interview when I was in front of like a Macy's or a Kohl's. Yeah. And thankfully I did it in that order, because when I got in front of Macy's interviews, like I kicked everyone's ass.
Dang.
But it was because I had already failed at a bunch of other interviews, and I got better and better till I knew what it needed to look like and have certain confidence and cadence to excel in that interview, which is like a whole nother freaking talent that you need to learn 100%. Just to get a job that may not even require that talent, but it's a talent to get the job. It's 100%. Your foot in the door.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, went to a networking events. I was dressed in a suit and tie one day. One of my classmates was like, yo, why are you always dressed up? I'm like, I'm trying to get a job, man. He's like, yo, I got a job with Macy's. Oh. I know the recruiter. Really? Macy's doesn't recruit. They don't recruit at UCR. Like, I could put you in touch, and you got to interview and you got to pass, but I could at least make the connection. He made the connection. I sent the resume. The next week I had an interview, and the rest is history. Started interviewing and eventually got the job, and that's how I got an offer my junior year for Macy's before I graduated. UCR.
Dang. Yeah. See, that's a really great story.
Yeah,
man.
I ended up in retail.
Heck yeah. So, and the crazy part is he was talking about Apple and the other tech company, right? Look where he lands, Amazon. So guys,
that's true.
Isn't that full circle?
Yeah. Kind of.
See, that's really weird. Like when I've talked to a lot of people, even like before the podcast, people that just focus on one thing and they just eventually will be elastic and they'll be able to stick wherever they want to stick. Specialization, basically.
Yeah. So. I will say I'm operations with Amazon, right? So I still do what I do, what I know. I people lead, right? So I lead people, drive a business, look at numbers, influence behavior. Yep. So I still am within my skill set, but now under the umbrella of a huge tech company, right? And Amazon isn't just Amazon.com, right? You got to think of, I did a lot of like business reviews on them in school. They own Whole Foods, they own Rivian, they own AWS, which is a software company that now has the contract with the United States government that they took from Microsoft. Yep. They have a lot of other companies that a lot of people don't know about, and they're really growing fast. So it's a place that there's a lot of growth and opportunity in.
100%. And speaking of Amazon and growth, I never really told you this, but not a long time ago, but over the years when we got to hang out, I kind of see John as like an older brother or like a mentor. And I appreciate you always helping me out with conversation. Even this podcast, I told this guy like yesterday, I was like, hey, you want to do a podcast? He's like, yeah, sure. But speaking of like older brothers and mentors, even when you're at Amazon and I guess all the people that you've met earlier, how do you find that good mentor? That's because you can find mentors, but like the ones that like stick the neck out for you. Like, how do you create that relationship? Even with, and we'll talk about later with his experience with Waba Girl. That'll be in the next couple of minutes. Yeah. That's where he met as a mentor. But where do you find these mentors? They just come to you, or you go to them? The really good ones that stick your neck out for you.
I don't know. I think for me, I've always tried to find someone who I would aspire to be similar to.
Okay.
Not to say I want to be that person and have their 100%. Life. No, but like, who do you see that maybe you see a little bit of yourself in, but they have mastered things that maybe you are struggling with or still working on or want to master. And so in my career, really the first one that I could think of is at Macy's is a gentleman by the name of Fernando, right? Very young, very talented, very smart person. He was someone I was like, he's, I don't know, 8 years older than me or something like that. Not too much older, but not too close. And I was like, I want to be like that. Like if I can achieve what he's achieved at that age, like I'm winning. So how can I learn from his experience? How can I, in a sense, humble myself, which is another thing you got to learn in life, people, right? How do you humble yourself? Put ego away and try to absorb as much, and I'll take a step back. the more you put your ego away and the more you humble yourself, the more people are willing to be transparent and honest with you.
I love that.
And trust you, right?
100%.
And the more you, and I've learned that, right? And the more you do that, the more access you have to like learning stuff and like getting to know people and just being genuine. Like even like that, like I would only do this because I know you and I trust you.
Yeah.
And you know, share what I'm sharing. But learning to put the ego aside and to be humble gives you access to that. So having that relationship with him and being able to put my guard down and say, hey, here's where I would like to get better. Here's where I struggle. Here's the secrets or the weaknesses that you have that you naturally don't want to show people because, you know, you don't like to show where you're weak or where you're not doing
100%.
good. So being able to do that and having him pick up on that and be like, hey, you know what? And start doing things as a leader to help groom and develop me. Anyways, that's what I look for in a mentor, someone who has that kind of character to them. So
okay, and that was within your organization.
Yeah, that's within the organization. And there's a lot of, I would say, mentors that like would motivate me at a distance, right? I think that's an example of where there's a personal relationship now. Yep. But there's a lot of mentors I think that you can have in life that you don't have to have even a relationship with, right? There's someone that my mom dated in the past that is very successful to this day. He started companies when he was young. You know, she would say our personalities are very similar. The ambition is very similar. Yeah. And this guy at my age, I met him when he was my age. You know, this guy was already a business owner. He was a VP for a company. He was a CEO of a company. He was doing all these things that sounded, where I come from in my background from Victorville, like crazy. Yeah, like this guy's a CEO. You know, like, oh my God, he runs things. Or hey, this guy's able to go buy a car. This able to go. You know, this guy's been able to do stuff. Like how? Like it was so. And so, although he was also there, and he was also that guy, and we've talked since then a little bit. Yep. But from a distance, it's someone that I've seen his path, and I'm like, yo, like if he can do it, I can do it. What can I do differently to continue in that direction? And again, back to like the humbleness and like ego aside, it's like regardless of what I've accomplished, what I've done, what I've achieved, my job history or type degrees, whatever, we both have two hands, we both have 2 feet, we both put our shoes on in the morning, we both iron our clothes, maybe not put our pants on, right? We all use the restroom. It's like the only difference between me and you or me and someone else is what you commit to doing and what you put work into.
100%. And that's
deep, right? Because it's like
super deep.
There's so much differences between people in the world. Like you would think, like, you know, it's more complex than that, but it can be as simple as that. They're all the same. It's just, what are they doing that you aren't, that you can potentially do to get there too?
You know, I was actually thinking of this. So my girlfriend and I, we always have like a controversial on this, but we talk a lot about privilege. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are given a lot of privileges. What are some privileges that you had growing up that gave yourself an advantage? Because let's say, you remember you said Victorville, right? Yeah, Victorville doesn't have a lot of CEOs. Yeah. What privilege did you have to help you get to where you are now?
See, maybe I'm the wrong person to ask that question to.
Well, it might be good. It might be good.
And I'm gonna just say, like, I don't really believe in the whole privilege thing. I'm sure that you can be born into a family or into a network. Yes, that'll benefit you. Sure, I'm sure that exists at some point. Me personally, like, I wasn't born into someone who had a lot, like in a family or that had a lot of influence or a lot of money or a lot of resources. Not that we were poor. I'm not saying that either, but there wasn't that, right? You know, like the person that lived, my neighbors that grew up with me, or people I went to high school with or elementary school with, like we were all raised in a relatively similar sphere. Yeah. Yet we're on very different points in life, right? Like I've met people that were raised in Orange County or in Irvine, and they have like a rich family and they have an inheritance, and they had like a Lexus in high school. Yep. And they aren't anywhere near as successful as you would think they would be now, right?
100%.
So in terms of like privilege, like I don't know, I'm not hugely bought into that, at least for my own experience. Could I see where that's a thing? Sure. Do I know a handful of people that, because of who they know or who their dad is, they have this job, this makes this money? Sure, right? Sure. Some of it exists, yes, but I don't think it's as common or as out there as some people tend to make it. And I don't know. I think I think you're very much a driver of your own destiny, and sure, there's sometimes things that'll work against you, but I think everyone in life has obstacles and barriers that they're gonna face no matter who they are. That's just me.
Honestly, I agree with John. Privilege, I feel like it does help you a little bit. It's kind of like you're riding an escalator versus taking the stairs. It helps you. You guys go to the same destination, but when you get there, where do you go?
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of how I see privilege. But you know, I want to make like an interesting pivot. So we're talking about mentors, right? I think this is one of my favorite stories because John talks about failure, learning a lot, things of that nature. Waba Grill. I want to hear a little bit more. You don't have to get into detail about that, but how failure led to something even better.
Sure.
So John, tell me the Waba story.
Waba story. So I'll change certain elements of the story just for privacy reasons, but nothing huge, but I'll change certain elements of it. But this was probably, did I already do this by the time you lived with me?
This is when we were living together. You went to a Waba, remember? You dressed up and you're I'm gonna go to Waba Grill. Yeah. I'm like, all right.
So it was probably around COVID, so 2019, probably 2019 was probably the year.
Yeah.
I had, at the time I wasn't laid off from Macy's yet. I was gonna be laid off. I didn't know that yet. It was going towards the end of 2019, so this probably happened in the middle or towards the beginning of 2019. I was working for Macy's. I was a DM at the time, a merchant. I was working between Orange County and San Diego. Lived in Fountain Valley. At the time, I had just finished. Well, I owned 2 homes. I had a home here in Rialto that I rented out. I had a second home in Las Vegas that I rented out. At the time, because I didn't know any better, and we learn as we grow, I thought that real estate was high, and that real estate would drop like it did in 2008. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna treat real estate like a stock. It's up right now. Let me cash out. Plus, I was super stressed out because I just finished. I was doing my MBA and working as a merchant, and I had these 2 homes that I was renting out.
Yep.
And I was still trying to balance living, life, personal life, etc.
Yep.
So a lot going on. So I was like, let me unload some of this stuff. Let me sell these homes while it's high, get the money, pay all the debt off. Then I'll reinvest it when the real estate market crashes. And if it doesn't, then I will buy a franchise. I'll buy, I always said in life I wanted to own real estate and get into franchising and own my own business.
Yep.
Have multiple streams of income, right? Like we've all heard.
Yep.
2 homes. I decided I rented. I sold Vegas in 2018. I think November of 18. I sold Rialto like January, February of 19. So a couple months apart. Then I. Again, never sell your home. If you could learn something, the taxes suck, right, y'all? Don't. All this internet stuff's kind of.
We'll go on another podcast. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. But don't sell the homes. Anyway, sold the homes, paid the taxes, paid all my debt off, became debt free. I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, right? Little plug for him. And being debt free and being in control of your finance. I ended up meeting with a lot of investors, like stock market investors, money managers. I interviewed 4 different companies, went and eventually picked one guy and put half of those winnings into a account, 401k, IRAs, etc.
There we go.
And the other half, he told me, you're good with your salary, with your savings, with your 401ks, with all this.
Do whatever you want.
You can go blow this in Vegas if you want. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, because the other companies, like, they just want to take all my money and have it, and manage it because they wanted the commission.
Good money manager.
They wanted the commission.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, you don't need to. He's like, if you do what you're doing now, you'll retire a millionaire, boom. And that's not to sound big. It's, again, follow Dave Ramsey principles. It's very simple to have a couple million in retirement if you start young, right? So he's like, you're good. He's like, so now take this, do whatever you want. And so I was like, well, I'm going to see if I could buy some real estate. I had a realtor help me out, looked around, didn't really find anything.
This was when we were in an apartment, right?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know you were looking for another house.
Yeah, well, I almost bought units in Santa Ana.
Really?
I regret it now, but they were selling 4 units in Santa Ana for $650,000.
How many units was it?
4 units.
Dang, 4 units for $600K?
4 units.
That's like unheard of.
For $650,000 in Santa Ana. And they already occupied, so they were already generating money.
Damn.
And I got nervous because
100%.
I'm a numbers guy, so taking on that level of responsibility and then having something potentially go wrong and having to foot the bill for that mortgage on my own was a lot.
100%.
So that's what got me nervous about that, right? If it was a little bit cheaper, I would have done it. But so I hesitated, decided to look into buying a franchise. I figured, what's working right now? The new trend was healthy living, healthy food. Everyone's like, all of a sudden you're working out, people are eating healthier. Waba Girl's getting big, Flame Broiler's getting big. I love Waba Girl, so I was like, shoot,
You guys love it.
that would be a great franchise to start, right? Yeah, that'd be a great franchise to start. So I Google it and I figure out where their corporate headquarters is. It happens to be right there in City of Industry, and I said, you know what, like, let me go see, like, I mean, I have enough money. I looked how much it costs to get a franchise, and I was like, I have the money to qualify, right, quote unquote. Let's see if let's see what happens, right? Like the worst, I always learn in life, just do it. What's the worst that could happen? The worst they could say is no.
Yeah.
You want to talk to the girl? Go for it. The worst they could say is no, right? My dad was always like, be courageous, do it. Just take a leap of faith. Just don't overthink, act, right? And that's gotten me very far thinking that way.
I love
that. So, put on a suit, tie, briefcase.
How old were you at this time? 29, right?
Not even, man. I was 26, 27 maybe.
27. Yeah, dude, this guy was 27 walking into a Waba Girl like, I'm a big boss. Tell us what happened.
I'm like 26, 27. Suit on. I still got Macy suit, so it's like fully tailored suit. Briefcase. I got my resume, my bank statements, my credit score, my 401k account.
You got a lot to load it.
Everything, right? Like I'm ready to go. Like give a full on. Like this is why you should take me serious.
Yep.
Walk in. I go to the address. It was a Waba Grill, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't our headquarters. It's across the street." Sorry, the address is wrong on the website. I go across the street. Just so happens, one of my very close friends works in the same building.
Destiny.
And I was like, "That's crazy." And I've actually been there before. So I go to the 5th floor of this building, and very nervously, walk in, put on my game face, introduce myself. And long story short, they were like, we'll call you, don't call us, we'll call you, like, like, thank you, like, goodbye, right? Here's the link or here's the application, like, go for it, right? So, they were respectful, right? And 100%. But I also get it, like, you got this 26, 27-year-old. I have a baby face, so they're probably like, this guy, like
this before he had his beard, by the way.
Yeah, they're like
his pre-beard era.
Yeah, they're like, this guy, like, they were just like, you know when,
Exactly.
So I walk out, I'm like, at least I did it, right? This is one. Next was gonna be Flame Broiler, and so I was gonna go down the list of franchises. So, I call my friend and I'm like, hey, it's crazy. I'm in the building that you work in. Would you mind giving me a tour of where you work? Like I've always wanted to check it out.
Yeah. And
she's like, sure. I go to where she works and she gives me a tour, really brief tour, and we're walking around, and then we're about to leave, and we turn by where her boss's office is. Ooh. And he walks out, and she freaks out because she's like, damn it, what is John about to do? And in true John fashion, he walks out, he's like, hey, good afternoon, how's it going? How are you doing? And we'll call her Sandra for now. Hey Sandra, good afternoon, how are you doing? And she's like, I'm good. I'm just giving, him a tour. He's like my brother, went to school together, da 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 da.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, well, nice to meet you. My name is so-and-so. You look really sharp. Like, what do you do for a living? I was like, oh, I'm a lawyer. He's like, what? Really? You're a lawyer? Really? What kind of law? I was like, yeah. I was like, are you hiring? He's like, well, what kind of law do you practice? I was like, I practice contract law. And he's like, really? And then, and she's about to die, right? And then I say, I'm totally kidding. She was really gracious to give me a tour of this place, and it's great. Yep. I was upstairs because I was looking at potentially buying a franchise, and Waba Grill headquarters upstairs, and so I was there, and then it was like literally, they always talk about that 2-minute elevator speech.
Yep. 2-minute pitch, 30-second pitch.
That's kind of what that was, right? I was nervous, so it caught me off guard, but I was just being me, and then I left, right? She's like, get the hell out of here, don't come back. And then I get an awkward text the next day, and she says, hey, would you be, I have a weird question to ask you. I'm like, sure.
Okay.
And she's like, would you be against meeting with my boss that you met yesterday? He'd love to have,
he likes your personality.
Sit down and have breakfast.
Yeah.
He wants to talk about franchising. You made an impression. I said, sure. Fast forward, we ended up meeting, we ended up getting to know each other, and it was the start of a very good partnership. And 5 years later, you know, we own a couple businesses together.
Yep.
And we've done a lot of stuff together. So,
Exactly.
you know, put yourself out there. Sometimes life has a weird way of making things happen, and that was completely unexpected because we couldn't be more different from more different backgrounds.
100%.
And that's kind of how that.
And I want to knock on some elements on here. Number one, he wore a suit. So he was already prepared. He was ready. He didn't wear like shorts or anything or a t-shirt. He was fully prepared. Second thing was he already knew what he wanted already. Even if the guy came in and just said, hey, what's up, whatever. John was going to get it no matter what. That's the second key takeaway is like he was going to do it with or without somebody. So props to you, John. I'm going to do a little timeout. And while we take a little coffee break, I want to show you the waterfall right here.
Yep.
You hear that? That's serenity. All right, so I'm gonna run this. I know we got some little crunch time. We're gonna ask John 2 more questions. They're actually my favorite ones. I think these are awesome. So one of my favorite questions to ask is about predicting the future.
Okay.
So what do you think is gonna happen this year? So here's some questions. Like, what do you think is gonna happen this year? Like, Lakers to the finals, interest rates up or down, crypto, Bitcoin specifically, 150K. What's one of your predictions that you think is gonna happen this year?
I'm not very political, right? But I'm a business guy, and I follow finance and money.
Yep.
Interest rates have already started to drop. I think that this new the new administration, I think, you know, they're going to be focused on, you know, finance and stuff. So I see hope. Well, there's good and bad to everything, but
100%.
seeing that interest rates are already dropping, I think that they might continue to drop lightly and or at least stay where they're at. So I think, you know, I always follow like the real estate market or the money market. If interest rates continue to drop, real estate home prices will rise. So like a lot of my friends that I talk to, if you're interested in buying a home, right, and you've been on the fence because everyone on social media says all kinds of stuff,
100%.
Take it from someone who's bought 3 homes already and more. If interest rates drop, home prices will increase. Okay, get whatever home that you can get.
Even
now,
with this interest rate now, like 7%?
at any point, if you can afford any home, get the house. And the biggest thing I tell people is don't be that person that wants the dream home off the top. It's just not realistic living in California in our age group or in our demographic or whatever, right? It's just very, very difficult, even for someone like me, to get a home. It took me, I was 32 when I was able to finally get a home here in Rancho, right? Which is a decent area here in SoCal. But you know, it's very difficult. I started with a fixer-upper that gave me the flexibility to get a second home in a gated community in Vegas, right?
Yep.
That gave me the opportunity to then either buy whatever car I wanted, to either invest in businesses, to pay my MBA completely off, and invest in, like, I got to do a lot of stuff because I played my cards right. Don't go for the best off the top. I get it. We all want nice things. It's a very show-offy social media, Instagram,
100%.
TikTok world. Like, you got to shut that off. And remember, I said humbleness and ego to the side. You know, like Dave Ramsey says, like, live like no one else, so eventually you can live like no one else. And I've definitely done that. I had roommates from when I bought my first home when I was 21, 22. I had roommates from that age till about 28.
Yep.
But now
That was your last roommate, right? Was that your last roommate?
You
you had someone else after that? 2020?
No, I think you were. I think you were, actually. Yeah, there you go. Last roommate that I had. Yeah. But I had roommates up until then, but now I don't need it. Does it work? Sure, but I don't need it. Now if I want to get married, have family, have kids, like, I can afford to do all that comfortably without the need to do that versus doing it backwards, right? And wanting to get the big house you can't afford,
100%.
the big car, the freaking $500, $700 payment BMW because you want to be cool.
Yep.
Whereas you could just buy it cash, right?
Exactly.
Anyways, this coming year, I think interest rates will drop or stay the same. If you want to get a home, get it ASAP. Get what you can afford. Doesn't have to be fancy. If it's not a home, maybe it's a condo. Maybe it's a 2-bedroom condo.
Yeah.
My thing is get the worst looking home that you feel comfortable getting into. Get a fixer-upper that you can change the floors, the paint, the bathroom, nothing super expensive. You can do it yourself, honestly, and let it appraise. You know, you want to get the worst house in the nicest block, if that makes sense, that you can
100%.
afford.
So what if someone works in downtown LA and the only thing they can afford is in, let's say, Rialto? Even with that distance, would you do it?
That's a hard
Would you
question.
advise someone to do that if that's the only thing they can afford?
Yes, but I'm gonna flip it on you.
Okay.
I think there's other examples or places that you can buy closer to LA. But let's just assume I live in downtown LA.
Yep.
I'm a young dude growing up. I have a career. I'm in college. Whatever
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
I'm gonna buy a house in Rialto. It doesn't make sense. I'm not gonna drive that
so
far.
exactly.
Cool. All right. So I'm gonna flip it on you. Buy the house.
Yep.
Again, under the scenarios that I said, that you can afford, that it's a fixer-upper in a decent area that you know has a future.
Yep.
Rent it. You have to remember, the numbers have to make sense. The rent that you can get for the home has to cover the mortgage that it costs for that house, or be very close where you don't mind paying an extra 100, 200 to own the house, and continue living the life you're living now.
So he just says just buy the house.
Buy the house.
But people make excuses like, oh, I gotta go maintain the maintenance. Or what's the experience for you like?
No, I mean,
like you just gotta just do it, right? Like if something
just do
breaks,
it. Like I said, like you can make excuses all day long, right? But if I'm in LA and I can only afford Rialto, buy Rialto, rent it out, keep the same apartment you're living in, the same job, the same exact life, but now you have this property. Let it sit 12 to 24 months, and I guarantee you it would have appraised enough for you to take equity out if you want to take it out and buy a nicer home, or keep it, let it keep doing its thing, use that equity to whatever, get the car you want to buy, or leave it, use it. You can, it gives you flexibility to do what you want, right? Many people will opt to take that equity, sell the home, and buy the nicer home. Now you don't live in Rialto. Maybe now you could afford to live in, I don't know, somewhere closer over there. You know what I mean? Like,
closer to
again, it's two extremes, right? LA and Rialto.
Super extreme.
I would probably opt for like a halfway point,
in the
and
middle,
then
right?
up
And then
to
again,
there.
you keep leveling up, right?
But that's what I would do if it was me and I had to start from scratch. I would say buy the Rialto home, rent it out, keep the lifestyle you're living. And then let it appraise, continue to save money like you're doing, right? Because you're not paying the mortgages, the renters are, you should be able to still save money, and then maybe get a second home, maybe upgrade it, do whatever you want. Or again, depending what you're willing to give up in life, find an apartment in LA with the most amount of rooms that you can get. Be the main renter there and rent out all the other rooms. And now instead of paying $3,000, $4,000 a month, you're paying $800 to $1,000 a month for one room, which is a lot cheaper than what you guys are paying in rent.
100%.
You're kind of serving as a landlord, even though you're renting yourself, but you're reducing the rent you're paying monthly, which will in turn allow you to save more money, which will in turn allow you to buy more of a house, or save more of a house, or buy the car you want, or vacation what you want to do. So again, that would mean giving up personal space, but that's a different way of doing what I did, but still being a renter, which is kind of like I did when I was with Chris, right? Like we had at the time we had a luxury, it was a dual master bedroom luxury apartment in Orange County.
Restrooms.
Yeah.
Privately.
Yeah. Dual master
sick.
bedroom luxury apartment, Orange County. At the time, I paid $2,250, and I rented a room out for $1,000.
Yeah.
So I was living in Orange County for $1,000 a month, which is nothing.
It was not a lot.
Yeah, which is nothing, right? And it was even cheap for him, all things considered.
Yeah.
Now if you try to rent that same apartment, I think they rent it for like $3,500 or more.
Do they increase it that much?
Oh, yeah.
Damn,
I should have kept the lease and kept it going. Yeah.
Damn,
I thought about that, keeping lease.
That would have been nice.
But that's what I would do. So if it, so anyways, back to the original this year. So interest rates, houses, renting. That's what I would say.
How about a fun prediction? Sports or whatever. I was gonna say, do I want Warriors to go back to the championship again this year?
Dude, I am not
Warriors.
the sports guy. So
You can
I'm
do
not a
anything.
big,
Sports. You can do like Apple's are gonna go to $3 a pound now, or whatever. Whatever your fun prediction is.
No, I think that like I think something happens in real estate. I think electric vehicles and electric will become bigger and bigger and bigger quickly. I heard Asian markets are already making like flying cars, and they have all this tech they're playing with. I think we're gonna exponentially see technology boom, and
This year.
I think it's gonna. Yeah, I think
this year.
In the coming future, we're gonna see it boom. So I think start studying up and seeing like where you fit in what the future will look like in 5 years.
That's a good point.
I always think 5 years ahead, right? So even though it's next year, like what could I do next year to prep me for what's gonna happen in 5 years? All right, let's see this coming year.
Yep.
I have a gut feeling, unfortunately, that something is going to happen, whether it's another freaking virus or some sort of war, or something global will happen in this administration, because there's unfortunately, a lot of negativity and a lot of stuff in the world.
A lot of tension.
And I feel like something is, someone's going to have to throw a wrench in it. So I think they have a lot of great things planned, but I know there's a lot of negativity there, and people feel different types of ways for different reasons. Some make sense, some don't. but I think that someone at some point will throw a wrench in that, and we'll have to pay the consequences as the people.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I hope that
I don't
doesn't
know.
happen. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'll
Have
see
some
my
savings. you know?
Oh, by the way, I want to keep a point that John had mentioned to us. It's about sacrifice. A lot of people don't want to sacrifice, like with the room that you were talking about. So if you want the prize on the line, you gotta know you gotta sacrifice for something, right? And that's
Yeah.
a hard thing for a lot of people, is sacrificing in the early stage. Otherwise, you'll be sacrificing later in life. That's what I agree, right? Or
Yeah.
disagree?
No, I agree, and I think it's a form of, again, back to what I said, like being humble and not having an ego, right? If you can, and I get it, there's crazy people out there. I get it. There's you come up with any excuse you want.
Yep.
But if you pay attention financially, what's happening in the world, especially California, and just like it's just harder and harder and harder to live like that cool life that everyone wants to live, right? Or everyone fronts that they're living. Because I know a lot of people that they're successful, but they really ain't. And I have a money guy that tells me, he's like, I have a lot of doctors and lawyers and business owners.
That
And
is true.
these guys are so far in debt because they're trying to flash like they can get this $1 million home and this car, and they aren't. It's all debt. It's all on cards. And
Sad.
so I think be humble, put your ego aside.
Love that.
Live within your means until you have the ability of living how you want to live within your means.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that. John, last question, because I know I'm getting hungry. You're probably getting hungry. When we circle back later this year, what's something you want to manifest or achieve for yourself? And then I'll keep you accountable when the time comes. Like, for example, when I see you next time, you lose 10 pounds. Next time you learn how to juggle, or your backyard's done. What's one?
All right. In what time frame?
Up to you. You're the one in charge.
All right, I'll be honest with you. So this year, the things that I want to manifest for me is
Sorry, alarm.
is definitely continue to get in better shape. So my goal is, let's just say I want to be 10 pounds lighter than I am now, right?
Okay.
Just
we
more
put on the camera. 10 pounds
yeah,
lighter.
10 pounds from now.
January 5th.
So we got to have that summer body. Summer bodies are built in the winter, right? So we're working on that. And honestly, if I could be 1,000% honest, my goal for me is to meet a quality person, to settle down,
There we go.
start a family, and open the next chapter in life.
Ooh, he's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready for that. Hopefully all that manifests.
Yeah.
People watching out there. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 viewers. He's single, ready to mingle. He's a Virgo. All right, what's the best way for people to connect with you? Do you have an Instagram you want to share, or LinkedIn or anything, or you don't want people to connect with you?
Sure. Instagram is
Plug it
jchar010. So JCHAR 010.
There we go. Any
That's
other
it.
plugs? Feel free to plug in anything that you want. Anything that you want.
I think Macy is a great company. Plug who else? What else do we got? I was gonna plug somebody.
You
I
can plug
can't
your
even
friends,
think
you
of it
can,
right
like
now.
plug your family business, whatever, your brother or whatever it is. You feel free to plug them in.
No, I think that's it for right now.
That's
That's it for now. Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in for our first podcast of the year. Hopefully I do like 20 more, because I'm going to do more with friends. I think that'd be really fun and
Yeah.
exciting. So, John, thanks again.
It was good.
Let's go get some food.
Sir. Thank you, man.
Let's get
go
some
eat.
food. Take this mic off. All right, let's go. That was great, John.
What do you think, man?
Dude, you did really good.
Yeah?
You did really. You want to see a little preview?